And we are live. Good morning, everybody. It is Road to Recovery in for another fantastic Monday morning chat. It is November 21st, 2022. And man, we're almost at the end of November. Wonder how some of you No Nut November guys have been doing. All right. I tell you, man, another day, another dollar. Just give people an opportunity to kind of file in here. Well, last week my Monday morning chat kind of died about 10 minutes in. That's the first time that's ever happened. I'm gonna try to really pay attention because it was almost seamless from my end. I didn't see or detect that anything had happened. So if for whatever reason we get cut off, if it's past 15 minutes, I'll probably just call it a day. But if it's anything like if it just dies right away, I'll just come back in and relaunch the chat. So what do we got going on? No one's in chat yet. No one's in chat yet. So yeah, the purpose of doing a Monday morning chats is I like to give people an opportunity to either come online, ask questions, or talk about their progress inside of porn addiction recovery. So if you're one of those people, make sure you log in anonymously so no one can see your uh, user ID. Because when this video is actually being broadcast live right now, so the chat people can actually see the chat. So if you want to maintain anonymity, make sure you're using like a fake account or something like that. And if we don't have any chatters this morning, I will just talk about whatever happens to be on my mind. Recently, I've been on this kick about telling people to not allow the opinions of others to manifest your own personal sense of identity. In other words, um, this outside world that we live in, the things that are external to you, we live in a society where there's lots of different people out there that have various degrees of things going on throughout their day, life experiences that inform their opinions, moods, you name it, man, all different types of things that go on throughout the day. And at any one given moment, a person could look at you and think you're the best person they've ever met, or think that you're the worst person in the universe. Um, and if they vocalize their opinion of you, maybe it elevates you, maybe it lowers you down. Um, I think the key there is understanding that relationship, that somebody external to you is informing you through their opinions about what they think about you. And those opinions change your mood. And to a certain degree, that's human nature, right? I'm sure ever since we're children, many of us like to, have our parents tell us how, amazing, how what a good boy, good boy you are, or what a good girl you are. You did such a good job. That's the sort of thing that you needed when you were growing up to, form your opinions. And I think to a certain degree, we carry that on into adulthood. Like we tend to value others' opinions of ourselves. But in reality, if you're not a small child, right, if you're an adult living an adult life, there's a problem there. It's allowing others to form your own personal sense of worth. If you keep allowing that to happen, right, and just let's just say you mess up, like in my situation, I was very cognizant of the fact that I was allowing this to happen. That shit happens in my personal life where everybody thinks I'm a giant scumbag, and then I start to really believe, oh my god, I'm a giant scumbag. Everybody's saying it, so it must be true. Um, but thankfully, on reflection, like going through the therapy and being able to really sit down and have a thorough understanding of the dynamics that were happening on, things were complicated. Things were extremely complicated. I know that I'm not, a bad person. I was allowing other people's opinions to form my own sense of self-worth. And once I gotten through that experience, I started to see that this is a really common problem. Like I was working with other guys inside of therapy groups, and geez, the amount of men, grown men, that actually go through this, that allow their sense of self worth. If you think about what self worth and self dignity really is, I mean, it should only be manifest about what you know about yourself. You know, if you know that you worked your ass off and you did everything you possibly could to do the right thing, whether or not those things turn out, sometimes we all go through our own, life circumstances, and even our best intentions or hardest, capabilities don't necessarily achieve, a victory or a goal at some point. Um, knowing the fact that you did what you possibly could, right? That should inform you of your own sense of dignity and self worth. That is the inner monologue and I would say, the right thing. Like it is the thing that feeds your self identity. Um, when you start allowing the opinions of others to start informing your own self sense of self worth, well, that's a relationship that's now really unhealthy. Um, I used to attend my 12-step meetings in this area, and inside of this inside of this building, and this building housed a lot of different 12-step programs. Um, and there was a lot of different people I would talk to that were in other programs in this building, and it started informing me about how pervasive some of these problems are to the detriment of people that were going in there that were suffering through various sorts of addictions, whether it's our narcotics or alcohol or sometimes like overeating. You know, how much or how prevalent this sort of problem really is. It's so prevalent that there's actually a 12-step program simply guided to people who do that sort of thing. Um, and so I send out that warning flag that, if you catch yourself doing it, you're feeling down for whatever reason, and you think it's because of, people are getting you down, like other people's opinions of you are driving you down, you know, really get into a space of, why am I feeling this way about those other people? I tweeted earlier today that, actually it's earlier yesterday. I tweeted earlier yesterday that due to my own life experience and all the shit that I had recently gone through, it really made me conscious and aware of the fact that a vast majority of people in this world, right, the people around you, have no clue what's going on. And I say that confidently. A vast majority of the people around you likely have no clue what's going on. Doesn't mean they're necessarily bad people. It just means that they will form opinions, form, you know, various ideas and information inside of their mind about their external world. And most of those opinions and information that they've accumulated are based on either false beliefs or um, you know just bogus information sources or emotional information sources, which is always a bad thing. It's good that you're in track of your own emotions and you realize that when you're sad, angry, whatever. But when you start forming ideas about those, that's where things start getting dicey, right? In making emotional decisions sometimes is always the worst thing. And so people go around in this universe of ours with all that baggage on their shoulders, forming opinions and saying things. And you can't rely on the opinions of others to form opinions about yourself. Now, sometimes they might make an observation like, "Hey, um, you're wearing miscolored shoes, right?" Oh, okay, that's actually accurate. You've observed something in the physical world, something that affects me, right? But if they walk up to you and say, "Hey, you're an asshole," right? Well, why are you an asshole? Don't take that personally. Like, kind of observe and like actually start thinking about what they're saying. Now, maybe you are an asshole. I don't know, but the correct thing to do is to analyze the situation. Why are they saying this? Don't get bent out of shape out of don't don't become emotionally unhinged about things external to you, especially things that you can't control. And part of that gets right back to the serenity prayer. Um, you know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, change the things I can, and willingness to know the difference. You really have to at some point really acknowledge the things that you do have control over and the things that you don't have control over and other things that you don't have control over. Having that wisdom to actually understand you know what the difference between those two things are, and if you can in fact or should in fact take action on anything. All right, that's enough of my rant. All right, what else we got going on today? Any chatters? No chatters this morning. And here in the United States, we're going to be coming up on Thanksgiving Day. It's this coming Thursday, right? So to all of you folks out there that might be listening, happy Thanksgiving. Um, let's talk about this. I posted this last week, but I think it's really a good thing to have a conversation about. I had posted sobriety isn't a denial of happiness. Addiction courage your sense of joy of the intensity that you have been conditioned to. Exercising mindful behaviors will reinforce that the world is filled with happiness. You simply have to be willing to take in the things you willfully neglected. And I that was a bit of me exercising my own mindfulness, but yeah, a lot of guys they get into this sobriety mindset, and it's understandable, whether you're talking about alcohol, drugs, food, or in by my situation, porn. It's like, you know, we immediately walk in understanding that we have a problem. But part of that realization is understanding that we've been filling ourselves with this addiction because it brings about joy, right? That's that's its primary purpose. It's bringing in joy, but underneath all that, there is something about you that you want to really lean into this to fill something else up. Like, it's like we're trying to pour water into a glass that has no bottom whatsoever. It's like the more we pour in, we understand that the act of pouring that liquid into that glass is is trying to fill that thing, but we always feel thirsty because the glass has no bottom, right? That's addiction for you. It's like you can never find enough happiness, um, but we're seeking that happiness. We're seeking the joy and happiness in another thing. And at first, maybe that glass was holding some liquid. Maybe there was a bottom to it, and you would drink it and it would go away, and you know, you were happy and content for a little while. In other words, that joy would last for a bit. But the longer and longer you start working at it, man, that dissolves the bottom of that glass, and no matter how much you keep pouring, it's never enough. We go into a recovery program or try to get away from our addiction, and it feels like all happiness is ended. um and being mindful of that, being mindful of the fact that I don't feel like I'm happy right now while you're in sobriety is hugely informative, and it's not something you should be down on yourself about. It's actually informing you. It's like, if you think about it, it's informing you of what the problem really is. And why I like and why sometimes I prefer a program with structure. I'm not saying necessarily 12-step programs, but programs with lots of structure to them, is that at the same time of trying to step you down from your addiction, they're also trying to identify where the problems really are and trying to get you aware of like what you need to do. And so, a lot of programs will attempt to throw the ideas at you, whether it's, seeking spirituality, whether it's trying to find other hobbies, other sources of happiness, trying to redefine what pleasure means to you. um, all of these things are important. Like, you've got to be able to take that all in. And I think sometimes that's maybe the limitation of NoFap, that it starts and ends with trying to break the addictive cycle. But um, unfortunately, it's not just the addictive cycle. The addictive cycle is what you get caught in. But the reason why you get into the addictive cycle is because of all these other contributing factors. And what you've got to do is you've got to mitigate those contributing factors. So, like, if you're getting into it because you were experiencing a lot of personal loss for whatever reason, you've got to find something inside of you that's going to help fill that hole, man. And it can't be your addiction, right? So, what's the other thing you can do? I know for me, when I came in, I I could tell you quite clearly the things I was lacking, right? Um, I I was very independent. I didn't like talking to people, if I could help it. Um, so I isolated a lot. And what happens is that I got to mid-age and I'm realizing it's like, shit, I don't even have any friends, man. I really didn't. That's because I isolated so much. Like most of my friends I had were like either from early childhood that I've known since way back, or were, you know, I wouldn't really call them friends. They were just people I associated with at work. Um, there was no close relationships other than the relationship I had with my wife. And so that isolation, man, was personally killing me. And I had to go and start leaning into my discomfort with being around other people and start building up relationships that were on something that wasn't related to, you know, I would say, you know, having let me just say it this way, deep meaningful relationships, like having deep meaningful relationships with people. And I think that's why the recovery rooms were so important for me, because I actually did end up making lots of friends for them. And the reason I think those are important is because I had really deep conversations with the people in the side of the recovery rooms, and it builds trust, man. When that gets to another area of feeling secure. I think a lot of people that are in recovery rooms, they experience a certain degree of insecurities, and those insecurities inform a lot of their perceptions and views of the world and a lot of their actions that they take as a result. So you might be feeling an insecurity and then go out to the universe and try to seek security through other means. And sometimes that security is through isolation. Like if I don't have to talk to people, um, I don't have to feel like I'm uh, being looked down upon, or feel like I have to perform whatever your insecurities happen to be, right? And those insecurities could be many. Some people it's like a financial insecurities. For some people it's maybe a physical insecurity. I don't like the way I look. um, Whatever the insecurities are, getting to the source and root of those problems, and then what can you do to best mitigate some of those problems. And if you can't mitigate the problem directly, what's something else that you can do that will allow you to foster a sense of joy in your life? Unfortunately, and it's I think unfortunately there is a reality at some space. Like if I didn't have a leg, for example, I certainly I could look at getting a prosthetic leg, but it doesn't fill the I don't have a leg, right? it's I got past the mobilization problem. But if I can't deal with the problem, the physical problem of say not having a leg, what else could I do that could bring a sense of accomplishment, joy, wonder into my world that will allow me as a person to overcome those obstacles. And y- that's one of the things you got to start doing, the digging. A lot of people don't even start that process, and you have to start that process. You have to go out into the universe and find something that is going to support your own sense of self-worth. And that process starts internally. It doesn't happen necessarily through the words and actions of other people. It happens as an internal part of you that know that there is either accomplishment, success, something meaningful inside of your life that was discovered and achieved. Yeah, and to a degree for me, Um, Working the 12th step is what I call what I do when I give back and when I'm talking to other people. Working that 12th step is paramount to helping me feel like I'm giving back to the universe and helping other people out. Um, and while it's great to talk to every single person that's out there, I mean, you could praise me to the end of time, but that's not what makes me feel good. Like what makes me feel good is if you tell me that I saw something that you did and I took that information and I used it and it helped me, right? It's like then the thing that I passed on is the thing that ultimately helped you in your life and you were able to find success. Man, I can't tell you how that makes me feel. Like that in and of itself makes me feel like I've actually achieved something worthwhile. Like I gave back in a meaningful way. Um, to see that other people have been able to break their cycle. And a lot of the stuff I say, it's just information that I'm filtering out from others. That I'm not some sort of super genius. I'm literally just aggregating information that I've accumulated, and trying to filter out the bullshit and just try to pass on things that are actually a little bit meaningful. Yeah, my phone is dying. What time I got? I'm only going to keep it for half an hour today. If I don't get any more chatters on, then we'll just wrap it up. Holiday week, so I didn't expect we'd have a lot of people anyway. And I think when I wrap up, I've been thinking about doing a Zoom session where I don't know. I'll post it in the community chat at some point. I was thinking about like doing a private Zoom session. Like I'll post up a public link, and anybody that wants to come in can, and it would just be a completely private. I won't record it at all. Just doing a completely private Zoom session for exclusively for porn addicts. Um, I might I might save that till after we get through the Thanksgiving holiday, and but I know this format that I'm doing right now with YouTube. It's difficult for a lot of either some folks don't have web cameras, some folks, for 9 o'clock in the morning, it's just not a convenient time for them to come on and chat. I know there's a lot of inconvenience that happen, but I think there's also the concern about publicly talking about their addiction, might be problematic. So I may do a little experiment in the future where I set up a Zoom link and I'll post it to either my Twitter or to my YouTube channel. And I'll announce the time for it. And I'll give it a couple of weeks so that people know when it's coming and just allow them to be able to come in and have a conversation and be able to talk openly, and anonymously. 9:24. What else we got going on? Is there anything I missed? If you're on right now and you want to chat or say something, feel free to type in the chat down below. Here, I'll get the ball rolling. Oh, hey, if you're out there right now and you haven't started this, yeah, if you have no idea where to start or you're just looking for the courage to start, don't procrastinate, man. Don't set a time and space up to say I'm going to do it in the future because it's always tomorrow at that point, right? If you know you got a problem going on, you just got to leap in, man. You just got to leap in. You're free to if you look at my YouTube channel, like if I go to my front page of my YouTube channel, I've got like a few steps that you can take to really like listen to those first few videos, and it'll start giving you the ideas for how you're going to start jumping into this. My advice, however, is don't try going solo. Once you've set your mind on it, you stop right now. Start working on a recovery plan. So you're going to sit down with a pencil and a piece of paper, and you're going to start writing down what your objectives are. You're going to start writing down, you know, where all of your triggers are, like, mapping out your triggers. And you're going to start getting into the habits and mindset of mitigating your personal behaviors. And I would also encourage you to just go out and look for a recovery program that's nearby. Um, there's Porn Addicts Anonymous, which is exclusively online. There's NoFap. You can start there if you want to. You can go to local groups if you want to meet people face to face. SAA, SLAA. Um, those are groups that they tend to be in a lot of different locations, and you can jump in, and both of them will openly welcome a porn addict. You can just go in and say, "Hi, my name's blah blah blah, and I'm a porn addict," and you'll fit right in there. They won't even care. Um, will say this: if you, it's sometimes good to stick your toes in the water. Like for SLA, for example, in some locations you can go into a room and you'll get like half of them are guys and maybe a quarter of them are porn addicts, right? You might get into a room where it's just exclusively all women and they're exclusively love addicts, right? Because, and I have to explain this. Yeah, even though SLA is like a base group for me, I got lucky. I think I got into a group where it was just a huge diverse group of different people that were either love addicts, sex addicts, fantasy addicts, porn addicts, like all of that was inside of the room. And it was cool, man, because like let me tell you something, all those other people inside of rooms like that will and start to inform you of a lot of different things. Like you start to see variants of your personality, even though their addiction forms slightly different. You listen and you start to hear things, and you're just like, oh shit, I've gone through that too. And then you start really paying attention because what that means is that despite the fact that their situation was different, similar personality traits allowed allowed this habit forming process to form in a slightly different area in their lives, but it's still manifest and they're still having to use the exact same methods because they've got triggers in their universe too. Um, they had to go about structure and formulation. Anyway, the whole point of me saying that is like if you go in and it's like 100% love addicts and you're the only porn addict there, dip. Just yeah, you know what, this room's not good for me. I tend to tell men that although I'm not in anymore, SAA was a good group, man. We had a good local group, but unfortunately, there was some mix-ups that were going on, and they just couldn't support it in the location that it was at, and they relocated it to a place that was so far away that I didn't want to bother with it anymore. But fantastic group. You will never feel alone in an SAA group if you're a porn addict. SLA could be a coin toss in some locations, but I would say still go do it. Like jump in, get a idea for the people that are inside of the room, and I would say the next thing you do right away is the second you feel like you're comfortable with that room, ask for a sponsor. Just ask for a sponsor. Hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I'm looking for a sponsor. How easy is that, right? All right. We are almost at the half hour mark, so I think I am going to call it. Oh, wait. Hey, Coy, how you doing, man? Early on, we see differences. Further into recovery, we still see more and more similarities. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Unfortunately, I'm going to be wrapping it up here. I've got a busy day ahead of me. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it quits. I'm going to start working on setting up a Zoom chat in the future, and we'll see if I can get a close knit community together of people who are needing assistance to just come online and chat. And if you're one of those people, either look out to my Twitter account or look on the community up above and YouTube, and I will post the information. Like I said, I'm going to hold off on this until after the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we'll see if we can set something up. And I'll set it a couple of weeks out in advance, so it gives everybody the opportunity to block off some time for it. And if you choose to do so, you can jump on in and talk about your recovery process and anything else you want to chat about. And there'll be other like minded individuals there whom you can chat with. All right. So, on that note, thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate your time. And please stay on that road to recovery. Take care of yourself.